Hey, Nando here. Just want to give you a little warning before the video starts, and it's not because this video contains spoilers for Into the Spider-Verse, which if you haven't seen, go watch. The movie's fantastic. No, this video contains a reference to one of the worst Spider-Man things in history, which you've probably forgotten about up until now, so watching this video will remind you that it exists, and I'm sorry for that. Alright, let's go to the video.
2018 was a hell of a year. I mean, we had 3 different movies with big shark things. What more could you want? Also, Infinity War, that was fun. But honestly, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse may have very well been the best film of 2018. Like all films, not just superheroes, all of them. And yeah, I get a lot of requests for an Into the Spider-Verse One Small Change video. And I mean, I'm great, I could change anything. I did videos on movies I love, like Endgame and Iron Man, but I still managed to find something.
Alright, well, this shouldn't be too difficult. All I need to do is watch a little bit of this movie. I'm sure I'll figure out something. So, alright, let's do this. No, that's good. No, that's great. This movie might be perfect.
Like, unchangeable. It's gorgeous. It's funny. Emotional. New. It has everything an audience could ask for. And on top of that, it nails the character of Spider-Man 6 or 7 different times. I cannot change this movie. To do so would be a crime against cinema. However, there was one thing that kind of bugged me. I think all of the spider people, spider friends, deserved a fun action moment. And obviously, Miles, Peter B. Parker, Gwen, and the original Peter Parker each had several memorable action scenes, but, what about the others? Well, Penny got to take on Scorpion at the Parker house, and then at the Collider. Spider-Ham beats up Scorpion in the Collider. And both times, the artistic style of that character's universe is blended into the fight to make the action specific to that character. But there's nothing like that for Spider-Man Noir. He had a bunch of great lines, the Rubik's Cube gag. I mean, Nicolas Cage owned that role. But I don't feel like Spider-Man Noir had any real memorable action moments. The closest he had was the fight with Tombstone in the Collider, but that isn't nearly as big as this. And I didn't love Tombstone, generally. Into the Spider-Verse had some of the most exciting and fresh takes on Spider-Man villains in a while, like Kingpin, the human Volkswagen Beetle, Liv Octavius, terrific reimagining, Ultimate Goblin was cool, Scorpion with his Spanish translation bubbles and that big giant set of scorpion legs, and then everything about Prowler, from the gauntlets to the musical cues, was insane, and then rounding out the Sinister Six was Tombstone. Some guy with guns, okay. And there isn't any good reason for Tombstone to be there. In the comics, he's mostly interesting because of his relationship with Daily Bugle writer Robbie Robertson, who doesn't show up in this movie at all. And listen, I get that this is the nitpick of all nitpicks, but hey, that's where I'm going with this one, so get off the train or buckle in. Trains have buckles, right? Right, well, I guess, but seatbelts? Well, they should. And originally, I played with the idea of swapping out Tombstone in Into the Spider-Verse for a different Spider-Man villain, but I don't think that's fair. Specifically because in the comics, one interesting thing about Tombstone is that he's one of a handful of characters in pop culture with albinism. Representation is a good thing. And Spider-Verse even managed to get an actor with albinism to voice the character. He's an actor-rapper named Marvin Jones III, who goes by the name Krondon. You may recognize him from Black Lightning. So yeah, keep Tombstone in Spider-Verse 1. Instead, it would be nice to add a moment to Spider-Verse 2 that will give Spider-Man Noir something fun to do. Maybe throw in a villain who plays to his strengths, as well as present some unique visual opportunities. So I asked myself, does such a Spider-Man villain even exist? Well, shockingly, one does. And don't worry, it's not Shocker or Electro. I see how that can be confusing. No, surprisingly, one does. So I'm going to explain who this character is, make the case for why and how he could be a fun addition to a future Spider-Verse movie. Now, I can't write exactly how I want this character to play into this movie that does not even kind of exist yet, so for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to toss him into Spider-Verse 1 so you guys can see how he would hypothetically work. So imagine that scene at the Parker house. A bunch of villains show up for a fight. Liv breaks the front door down, Scorpion walks out of the kitchen, gets his intro, and then this new guy walks through the hole where the front door used to be. He's just a guy in what looks like a big hazmat suit. You can't see his face. Spider-Ham asks, "Well, what's his deal?" And then the suit expands and rips open, revealing that the suit is actually filled with a sentient swarm of bees. Peter B. Parker says to the group, "They have a swarm here?" And then Spider-Man Noir freezes and says, "Not bees." Spider-Ham asks, "What's wrong?" Spider-Man Noir looks around and says, I had a bad experience." And then the fight starts normally, and Noir fights Swarm. Every punch he makes just goes right through the swarm of bees. Eventually, someone like Penny would intervene and help Spider-Man Noir beat Swarm. Couple of reasons why this could be fun. But first, Swarm, you say? Who is Swarm? Well, Swarm is a wild Spider-Man villain. He's a scientist who was devoured by a swarm of mutated bees, and his consciousness was transferred into the bees. So Swarm is really like a skeleton surrounded by, thousands, hundreds of thousands, a lot of bees working as a hive mind. Right off the bat, this dude is a visual goldmine. The team behind Spider-Verse was able to take so many villains with either unremarkable powers like Prowler, or powers we've seen visualized before like Doc Ock, and turn them into something distinct and new. It would be exciting to see how they would visualize a character with a power set not seen in a Spider-Man movie before, or really any superhero movie before, that I can think of. I guess the closest analog is kind of Sandman in Spider-Man 3, but it's a very different kind of power set. Let me know in the comments if you could think of any good similar characters. Swarm shows up in the comics from time to time, but as far as I can tell, he's only appeared in 3 other pieces of Spider media, and they always manage to mess him up somehow. The first one I found was a villain named Swarm in the Ultimate Spider-Man animated series. However, that character is actually someone named Michael Tan, who has taken control of Spider-Man's nanobots and is using them to get revenge on Iron Man, which was, at the time of the episode's release in late 2013, unusual for a Spider-Man villain. Eat your heart out, Vulture, Ultron, Claw, Zemo, Mysterio, and of course William. I actually learned about another appearance of Swarm from one of you guys. You see, before I release these videos, I tweet out a message asking if anyone wants to proof watch the video. Twitter.com/NandoViewMovies, please follow. And the first few responders take a look at the video and let me know if I made any mistakes. In this instance, Jack brought to my attention an episode of the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends animated series featuring Swarm. This swarm is made of bees, so step in the right direction. However, this swarm is just a bunch of bees who get hit by a meteor and turn into a guy. They spend the episode shooting people with eye lasers that turn those people into bug people, but mostly this swarm just shouts his own name. He's like a Pokemon, I guess Combee. But the third appearance of Swarm in a non-comic piece of Spider media comes from what I honestly believe may be the dumbest Spider-Man thing of all time. The live-action Spider-Man musical, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. For those of you who aren't aware, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark was a musical from 2013, created by U2 frontman Bono, U2 lead guitarist The Edge, and the Lion King musical's Julie Taymor. It was a spectacular disaster. Some of the songs are kind of catchy and the leads tried their best, but the story behind this musical is unreal. The channel Wait in the Wings made a great video about it called Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, What Went Wrong. If you're anything like me and you're interested in Broadway, give this video a watch. I'll link it in the description. And in the musical, there is an admittedly catchy song called Freak Like Me Needs Company, wherein the Green Goblin just decides to make a Sinister Six, and they're all amazing in their own amazing way. The first member is Swarm. You know Swarm, that classic Spider-Man villain who is so classic a lot of you had probably never heard of him before this video. He's just a guy in a costume with some bees bouncing around. Then you get Lizard, who, honest to God, is essentially one of those blow-up T-Rex suits that explodes out of a guy like a chest burster. And then for the rest of the number, the guy's head is just hanging there. So I guess this Lizard is an appendage of Kurt Connors. Then, my favorite intro, Green Goblin says, "Ladies, how about a human lightning bolt as a dancer in a sparkly electro suit with a humongous head kicks onto stage, and it turns out the head is so big because it has a dinky little sparkler in it that in no way justifies the size of that head." Then you've got Kraven. Now, I don't know who is in charge of this one, but there is no way they have any idea what Kraven's deal is. This guy has a humongous torso with the lion pelt on the front, and the lion pelt's mouth opens as if Kraven's suit contains a real lion, but it doesn't open nearly wide enough for the mouth to look cool. Also, he has a whip. Carnage is a guy in a Carnage suit. Where he got that symbiote in a world where there does not appear to be any venom, I don't even care. No time for that, because last up there is Swiss Miss, a new villain created exclusively for the musical because there aren't that many Spider-Man villains, right? And this one's essentially Shredder from the live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. It's really breathtaking. They somehow managed to get every character wrong in some weird fundamental way, except Swarm. Anyway, where was I? Right. So then, beyond the visual opportunity, Swarm also presents the opportunity for a silly little Easter egg. As we all know from internet, in the movie The Wicker Man, which for those of you that are too young is essentially Midsummer with a detective, Nick Cage is famously tortured via a bee helmet. It's dumb and silly, and he shouts, "No, not the bees!" Spider-Verse was chock full of silly Easter eggs, from an image of the Spider-Man popsicle to an alternate universe poster of John Mulaney's Oh Hello to a clip of Donald Glover from Community wearing a Spider-Man outfit. I don't think this would be out of the question. And now we have a little mini-arc for Spider-Man Noir that can lead to a fun moment later on. After being rescued by Penny Parker, Noir feels a little defeated. And then, during the final fight, Penny takes on Swarm again, but this time Swarm or someone else destroys her mech, which leaves no one to take on Swarm but Spider-Man Noir. Noir tries to punch Swarm, but that approach fails because the punches go right through him. And when it seems like Swarm has Spider-Man Noir beaten, Peter B. Parker yells, "You got this, Spider-Man! Kick his Nazi butt!" Spider-Man Noir punches and says, "Hold on a second. You're a Nazi?" The Swarm answers, "That's right. Why does that matter?" Spider-Man Noir lowers his hat and says, "'Cause I drink egg creams and fight Nazis. And I don't see any egg creams." Then Spider-Man Noir gets a boost of confidence, beats Swarm by doing something like spraying him with water or crushing him with a billboard or something like that. So yeah, Fritz Von Meyer, aka Swarm, is a Nazi scientist in the comics. And as far as I can tell, he's one of the only Spider-Man villains who is also a Nazi. It's not a lot, but little moments like this are what make Spider-Verse special. And I mean, if you have a character in a movie that is played by Nicolas Cage, who fights Nazis, and a villain in that movie could be a swarm of Nazi bees, that might as well be a match made in heaven. Oh, and one more thing. Besides all the other things about Into the Spider-Verse that are awesome, one of my favorite things is the amazing soundtrack, which I'm sure you probably heard of. What's Up Danger by Blackway and Black Caviar was a huge hit, but I think there's a lot of other fun stuff on there. Sunflower by Post Malone, I didn't originally love, but now it's really grown on me. Elevate by DJ Khalil is a lot of fun, and then Home by Vince Staples, which is easy to miss because it is the last song on the soundtrack, is easily my favorite on the album. And I have been listening to the Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack recently, as well as a bunch of other music and podcasts on wireless earbuds made by this video's sponsor, Raycon. Raycon makes premium wireless earbuds that start at half the price of others on the market. I've actually had a pair of Raycons for a while, and like a lot of you, have been spending a lot of time indoors recently, and it's really nice to just throw your wireless earbuds in, go about your business, walk around the apartment, do chores, exercise, whatever it is, you've got your music and your podcasts with you wherever you go. And they sound as amazing as the other top audio brands you guys know. Their latest model, the Everyday E25s, are their best one yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise isolating fit. And it also comes in fun new colorways. And if you click the link in the description below, buyraycon.com/Nando, you get 15% off your order. It's that easy. Raycon, use them to listen to podcasts, videos, and cool music like the Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack.
Hey, so I want to give a huge thank you to everyone that continues to support the channel on Patreon. You guys are the best. You want to see your name up here, get access to videos early, other cool stuff, throw in literally any amount of money at patreon.com/NandoViewMovies. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. I love doing the monthly Patreon whiteboard videos. We just did one on my Thunderbolts pitch, which was a lot of fun. And I think I actually got a lot of great ideas from that I may work into a video in the future. So definitely, if you want to watch those, you can join the Patreon and you can watch all of the older ones. It's a lot of fun. Also, definitely want you to subscribe to my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, where every week me and my friends DJ and Diggins pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. Last thing, as always, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is @NandoVMovies, where I post updates on videos, podcasts, mostly pictures of my cat. It's pretty great. Oh, and one more thing. Like I said in the last video where I teased Spider-Man, so that's what we did here, I want to tease a video that's coming out in the future. So this is the tease. That's all I got. See you next time.